I was into jumping over puddles, or rather into puddles. As you know, my good friend Steven and I, we would ride our bicycles into the pond, but that was around, I don't know, junior high or high school or so. But before then, we were really into just crashing, throwing ourselves off of our mountain bikes on our Huffy burner. And you may be like, Beau, that's a little crazy. Well, yes, that's what most little boys do when they find out that their bones are extremely difficult to break. And they're like, hey, let's go film each other crashing. Which we did. But we needed a video camera. My parents had a nice video camera. So I said, hey mom, hey dad, can I borrow the video camera? They're like, I don't know, it's pretty expensive. It's like, oh, come on. If it breaks, I'll pay you back. Well, I'm not gonna break this really nice video camera. Well, we took it all over the place. We took it out in the rain, in the mud, because after all, you know, you can't just limit yourself to a dry urban environment when you're doing bike crashes. You need to go out into the woods, which we did. And thus the puddle jumpers were born. We didn't last very long. As a matter of fact, we lasted about as long as the video camera. It broke. I felt so bad. Horrible, horrible sinking feeling in my stomach. And I said, Dad, I broke the camera, and I had to pay for it. And what was even more awkward was I had to ask Steven if he wanted to split it, which he did. Decent guy, real nice. But this reminded me of another moment when I wanted to build a pier out on the pond. I grew up on this pond, and it was very, very deep. And I was like, hey, I need to lash my raft to something as opposed to just, you know, tying it to some cattails. I'm gonna build a pier. So I got some stakes and some nails, but I needed a hammer. Hey Dad, can I borrow the hammer? And he's like, yeah, sure, as long as you put it back where you found it. You see where this is going, right? Well, I put it back, but not necessarily where I found it. It is to this day still on the bottom of the pond. I remember very vividly leaning over the raft, swinging it towards the nail, and it slipping out of my sweaty little palm and grasping at the air. I remember thrusting my arm down into the water up to where I couldn't breathe anymore, just like gasping, trying to reach for this hammer as it sunk out of my reach. I felt so horrible. But this isn't a sad story about me feeling horrible and disappointing my parents. As a matter of fact, if you were to ask my mom and my dad, hey, do you remember that time when Beau broke the video camera and lost your hammer? They'd probably just be like, what are you talking about? They wouldn't remember that. But it made such an impression on me never to borrow anything. And that is the valuable, positive life lesson that I would like to impart to you. And it's not just me coming up with this incredibly profound life lesson. No! As a matter of fact, it's derived from Little House on the Prairie. Not kidding. The dad of that story, I remember actually saying, never borrow anything unless you can immediately replace it. I should have listened to Little House on the Prairie. And that is where you should get all your life lessons from El Manzo.